You're listening to Spiritual Matters with Energy,
the program where we're exploring all sides of spirituality. And tonight we turn to the world of angels and elementals as we welcome spiritual author Diana Cooper. Evening, Diana.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on the program. Now, first question I have to ask you is, do angels really exist?
Well, of course. Many years ago I wouldn't have thought they did. And indeed, I was told by the Dean of Guildford Cathedral some years ago that he was taught that they were a figment of the medieval imagination. But I had an experience nearly 30 years ago when I was at rock bottom. I had no spiritual beliefs, no religious understanding, nothing. Nevertheless, I threw myself into a chair and said, "Help. If there's anything out there, help." And an angel came in. Now, what I saw was a 6-foot golden being. I didn't see wings, but he pulled me out of my body, and he and my spirit flew together, and he showed me my future. And that experience changed my life.
Can you just expand on that a little bit about the experience and where the angel took you and what you saw?
Well, he took me on to many experiences, many of which were taking me up to a high place, pushing me, and then holding me in the light until I managed to get the message that I was being held. But the most important part of the experience for me was we flew side by side over a hall full of people, and they all had rainbow auras over their heads. And I looked down and I said, "Am I down there in the audience?" And the angel replied, "No, you're on the platform. You're to be a spiritual teacher." And on the platform were people with rays of light shining through them. And I hate to say this because I know that I still haven't done all the work I need to do to clear myself to achieve what he was showing me. But I'd said at the beginning, you have 1 hour, and it was exactly an hour to the minute when he brought me back, and that's a long time. And I knew that something very profound had happened, but I didn't know anyone that I could talk about whatsoever. So I wrote it down and I waited, and then I started to train to be a healer, and then I trained to be a hypnotherapist because I really wanted to help people. And I set up in practice and got my life together. And I was aware of angels around my clients occasionally, but I didn't communicate with them and I didn't work with them. But 10 years after my original experience, I was lying in the bath asking for some guidance about some classes I was running, and the angels came back. This time, an angelic voice said to me, "We want you to teach people about angels." And I said, "No way. You know, people will think I'm nuts. I don't want to do that, thank you. I just want some guidance." But then they said, "Who's running your classes? Is it your ego or your higher self?" So I got out of the bath and I sat with a towel around me on the bed, and 3 of these luminous beings stood in front of me, and they gave me all sorts of information about angels, which became part of my next book, which was New Light on Angels. And the angels backed me up all the way, because when the book came out, I went on to Richard and Judy to promote it. And before I went on air, they said, would I have my aura photograph taken? Now, your aura is the electromagnetic field around you, which can be caught on camera. And I said, sure. And as I sat there, I said to my angel, please will you just step into the photograph, thinking people would see the light and perhaps be touched by the light of it. But the angel impressed itself onto the photograph, with the result that they had 114,000 calls, the lines went into meltdown, and I had to go back next day to talk more about angels, because so many people were phoning up and saying, we've never dared tell anybody about our angel experience before, and now we have permission to do so. And I think that that was the importance of the angel coming into my aura that day.
And what were you saying on the program when you went back?
I was just telling people about angels, about the experiences you can have, how every single person has a guardian angel, and that you must ask for help because you have free will. We're in a zone of free will, and so your angel has to stand back and just hold your divine blueprint for you and witness what you're doing. But if you ask for help, then they can step forward and help you. I mean, millions of people ask their angels to help them with simple things like a parking space, and it's kind of a test for them, and of course the angels do it if it's right for you. We also have to realize that an angel won't do something for you unless it's for your highest good, and for the highest good of everybody else as well. And if it's not, then of course they don't do it. That doesn't mean to say that they haven't heard you and they aren't working with you, but it does mean that they will only work for the highest good.
So to someone who's hearing this, well, for the first time, this concept, it's as simple as just suddenly saying, right, I'm talking to my guardian angel and I want this in my life. You just start up a conversation, start connecting. That it's as simple as that, is it, Diana?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. My 8-year-old granddaughter said to me, "Oh, Granny, I so much wanted to be in this particular house, Nightingale House, when she moved to school. So I said to my angel, please will you get me into that house?" And she said, and they did. She said, but I know that if they hadn't, then it wouldn't have been right for me. But I asked them, and they did. So it was the right place for her.
Now, I need to ask you also, well, I don't need to, but I want to ask you, is it true that angels leave a feather when they visit you?
They don't always leave a feather, but if you need proof or they want to give you the message that they're there around you, yes, they will. I remember one day somebody came to interview me from a national paper, and I looked out of the window and there were feathers in lines all the way across my lawn. And I went out and I picked up 100, and that was only one corner of the garden. And it was like they were saying, this is important, we want to get the message out.
And these were white feathers, were they?
These were little white feathers. And when I pointed them out to the reporter, she was absolutely astounded.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I know. It was extraordinary.
Fantastic.
And people write in with all sorts of experiences, how they've asked for help and then they've gone back to their car, which has been locked, and there's a feather on the steering wheel, or something like that. They will leave it in an unusual place.
And are there any other interesting stories of what angels have done for you?
There are hundreds of them. They sing over you. You can ask for help and they will sing over you. I had an interesting experience just last week. It started with the elementals, but then it was the angels joined in. I was feeling very cross about something that somebody had said, and I knew that I was being very third dimensional. It was going round in my head. And I went down to my local woods, and I said, nature and the angels, please take away this horrible feeling that I have. And immediately a fairy came and jumped onto my shoulder. And she was singing to me, but I couldn't hear her. And I knew that was because of the low frequency I was in with these negative thoughts. But then all the other elementals joined in and they started to sing my name. And then the angels joined in and they were singing my name with waves of love coming towards me. And by the time I left the wood, I had this wonderful warm feeling in my heart. And later on, I thought, what was that I was so bothered about? And I couldn't even remember. It was like they'd taken it away completely.
And how did these appear to you? Was it just through sound, or could you see them as well?
On this occasion, I was aware of them as a kind of a light presence, and I could hear the sound. Sometimes I see them, sometimes I just sense them, sometimes I just know they're there. Because at the end, what they called through to me, and it was almost an audible voice, but it was probably telepathic, was forgive the person you were then and rejoice in who you are now. And that was a perfect message for me at that moment.
Now, you talk about these elementals. Can you explain exactly what they are and what they do?
Yes. Our world is sustained by little beings that are in other dimensions, which is why we can't see them. But nevertheless, they are working with the soil, with the flowers, with the trees, with the air, with everything around us. And when we tune into their wavelengths, we can start to see them and connect with them. And I had no connection really with the elementals. Well, I had once seen one very clearly who came to me. But since then, I hadn't seen an elemental or connected with them. And then I had a lot of grubs, and I had to dig up a part of my lawn, and I dug in 3 tons of manure over the winter to make a vegetable patch there. And that connection with the earth opened me up to my connection with the elementals. And I was walking in the woods one day, and I looked in a tree to see if there was an elemental there, and this elemental jumped out, and he was about 4 foot tall, and was very sprightly, and he opened his arms, and this light just came shooting out of his heart into my heart. And I had the weirdest conversation with him, because I said, well, what do you feel about humans then? And he looked at me oddly and said, well, we're all the same, but we're different. And I said, well, how do you feel about the other elementals? And he looked at me oddly again and said, well, we're all the same, but we're different. And when I got to the end of the wood, he said he had to go, and he started to recede. And I called out telepathically to him, what's your name? And he laughed and he said, it's Gobolino. I'm a goblin. And I went home and I thought, oh, have I been tricked? Yet I couldn't have imagined what happened. And I asked my guide, Kumikar, and he said, no, goblins are 5th dimensional elementals. They're highly evolved with highly developed heart centers. And whenever I have met them since, they've always opened their hearts, and this light has come out and enfolded me. They are truly remarkable beings, very evolved.
And are these souls of people that have previously inhabited the earth?
No. Elementals are something completely different. They're on a different ray almost to us. The souls of people who have been on earth can come as stuck souls. Those are the ones that are ghosts and who can upset people. Or they can come as loving visitors to watch us and bring us love and joy and peace or messages. And, of course, this is very much coming to the fore because of orbs. Now, many people are aware that they are taking photographs and there are blobs on the photographs, and sometimes they're colored and sometimes they can see faces in them. But these are the 6th dimensional light bodies of angels. What happened is that angels have said for a long time that they wanted to give us proof of their presence. And they tried ectoplasm years ago, and that was kind of derided.
What is that?
It's an emanation which can form a shape. But this really didn't work very well. And so what they did was they impressed onto scientists who were working with digital cameras to make the camera frequency the exact frequency that they could step their light down to. And so if you raise your frequency to the angelic level, they bring theirs down, and for a 1,000th of a second, they impress themselves into that particular frequency so that they appear on the photograph. And the thing is that even when the photograph has been printed out, they can still have an effect, and they can still touch you and surround you with their light. For example, I have a pack of orb cards, and a little girl I know, very hyperactive and quite ungrounded, and my guide told me to put her photograph on the orb of Sandalphon, who is in charge of the Earth Star Chakra and does the grounding, and of Jophiel, who's in charge of the Crown Chakra and would help her to align her energy upwards so that she can connect with her soul. And so I did this. And I spoke to her mother shortly afterwards, and she said, I don't know what it is, but her little girl was completely different. And I thought, yeah, she said she is much more grounded and with it. And I've kept her photograph on it ever since, on those two orbs. And those archangels are affecting her. They are helping to hold her in the right position. And anyone who has a child that's ungrounded, that's a very good thing to do. And so many of these children that are, for example, autistic, have withdrawn part of their soul energy because their high frequency and the energy on earth is too uncomfortable. And if you place the name or the photograph on a unicorn orb, the unicorns can help that child to start bring their soul back into earth. And if you need protection, you can put somebody onto an orb of Archangel Michael, and that protection will then enfold them. So they're very practical, the angels. They really are trying to help us in every possible way.
Something I'm trying to understand here is the purpose. I mean, you say they're trying to help us clearly, as are the elementals, it would seem.
Yeah.
But what's the ultimate purpose of this? Is it to help us all to reach enlightenment?
Well, the whole thing that's happening at the moment, and the reason that this is such an exciting time, is that 2012 is the end of a 260,000-year cosmic era. It's the end of the entire experiment of Atlantis. When it ends, we have a 20-year period to get us to ascension, the ascension into the fifth dimension. So by 2032, everything on the planet has to be in the fifth dimension. And that is where people are working together in cooperation and harmony, working for the highest good, bringing about peace. And we have a long way to go. But massive new energies are coming in 2012, and I talk about this in 2012 and beyond. And
is that one of your books?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the book before last. And that is to inspire people and remind them of what they can do. And, we hear so much doom and gloom, but it's an enormous opportunity, which is why 6 billion people have been given permission to incarnate on Earth at this extraordinary time, because it's a time for massive experience and opportunity for spiritual growth, for the ending and completion of karma if people want to do it. And so it is just an extraordinary opportunity. But in 2012, it's not just Earth is starting its ascension process. The entire universe is starting to move up, and all the universes are moving to a frequency higher. So there is a massive current taking place, and we can all flow with it, or we can resist it, in which case we'll be making life difficult for ourselves. So to take advantage of all the extraordinary things that are happening. For example, on 11/11, the 11th of November 2011, there is a cosmic moment at 11/11 local time, wherever you are. And if at that time you are receptive and tuned in, you can take advantage of the opening of the portals of heaven for a few moments when source light is pouring into the earth. And then it can pour through you too, and you will receive some divine gifts.
Why is that happening on that particular date and that time?
The true cosmic moment is taking place on the 21st of December 2012. That's the one everybody's expecting. But 11/11/11 numerologically is talking about moving up a step higher into another level. And so there is a cosmic moment then to prepare us for the main cosmic moment taking place in 2012. But the energy coming in is extraordinary, and magic and miracles can take place if we allow them to.
Now, you talk about all this happening from next year, over 20 years, but isn't it already starting to happen with all the stuff we're seeing going on, all the major shifts in the global economy and politics and so on?
Of course, and that's just the beginning. That's the taster to warn us of what is going to happen unless we change our ways, because we have to move to a time of spirituality, of looking after the earth, of being in touch with the elementals and the angels, rather than a time of greed and imbalance. And so these things that are happening are warnings. The main cleansing of the planet, where every single place is going to be cleansed and purified in preparation for the new golden age, that is supposed to start in 2017. However, we have seen what's been happening on the globe already. For example, Pakistan was very dark, holding the planet back with its energy, but the higher soul of Pakistan, because every country has a soul or higher self, as every individual does, so the collective soul of Pakistan invited their cleansing to start early. And that's why they had that massive, massive flood. Unfortunately, they didn't learn the lessons that they were supposed to learn from it, and they didn't cooperate, they didn't all work together, they didn't make sure that everybody was helped. And so in Brisbane, in Australia, the souls there said, we will call part of our cleansing in early and show the world how it can be done. And so those brave souls undertook that flooding so that they could show how they worked together, they cooperated, they looked for the highest good, they really worked hard to do what they needed to do to help everybody. And the animals that suffered then, they made a huge sacrifice so that Earth could start the process of cleansing. And then we had New Zealand. And in New Zealand there was a huge earthquake, 2 earthquakes, along a fault line which ran through a city centre. And there was a warning in that it was on a fault line, and fault lines are places that are very vulnerable. And we're told that New Zealand is a very good place to be. In other words, it hasn't got much karma, the energy is quite pure, but along the fault lines there will be more earthquakes and it will be vulnerable. And all business centres, literally because of the work in business centres of the banks and the money and the financial institutions, is also vulnerable. We then had a huge tsunami in Japan, and that was a karmic thing, a karmic cleansing. Ancient karma, but also the karma of the killing of the dolphins and the whales and the way they've been harvesting the fish. And that was a huge clearance that took place. But they also undertook to warn the world about the way we're using nuclear power and how the consciousness of the world isn't ready yet for nuclear power. And so they are taking wiser decisions now. I believe they're even closing down another power station near Tokyo, simply because all nuclear power stations are vulnerable because of our level of consciousness. But that tsunami went out to Hawaii, and by then it was a 4-foot wave. And we're told that if the people of Hawaii had worked with the elementals of water and connected with them and communicated with them, then that wave would have gone round the island instead of hitting it full on. And so there are masses of ways which I describe in 2012 and beyond, and my next book, The Transition to 2032. There are ways that we can work on Earth. All the ancient sacred mysteries tell us how we can work with the natural forces so that these things don't happen.
So there's a lot of work to do, clearly, starting next year.
It's very exciting that we can harness energies that we aren't currently aware of or able to harness because of our consciousness.
And do you think we're going to make it?
We're inevitably going to make it. That has to happen. It's what happens to Earth in the meantime. And it's up to us whether we allow it to be a gentle transition or it is cataclysmic. For example, there was a huge earthquake in Haiti. Now, the ley lines under Haiti, which are the energy lines in the earth, they were blocked because of black magic that's been practiced over centuries. And now we have a choice. Where we know this is happening, we can either send in light and prayers and ask the angels to start clearing the blockage, or we can let nature do it. And that was what happened in that particular case. Nature cleared the blockage. But we don't have to do it that way. We can start working together for peace so that the earth underneath is cleansed.
And what happens, Diana, if we don't get our act together by 2032?
Well, anybody who can't maintain the fourth dimension, which is when your heart is open and you're starting to take responsibility for yourself, then they will choose not to be on earth and they will continue their progress. Now, it depends. If they come from this universe, then they will go into the inner planes, into the training schools in the inner planes, and they will receive guidance so that they can come back at a higher frequency. If they don't come from this universe, they will return to their home planets for more training, or go to another third dimensional planet in their universe.
Wow, incredible stuff. Now, we're in conversation with Diana Cooper here on Spiritual Matters this evening. Diana, you've kindly offered to do a live unicorn reading for me, which I'm very excited about, I have to say. Could you maybe just start by explaining what exactly a unicorn reading is?
Okay, well, a unicorn is a very, very high-frequency being. They're pure white. They're known as the purest of the pure. Some of them are ascended horses, and they vibrate between the seventh and the ninth dimension, though, of course, we cannot connect with them higher than the seventh dimension. But what they're doing is they're looking for people with a light over their head that is saying that they're wanting to do something for others. So if you have a plan to help your community or your country or other people and your light is switched on, then the unicorns will find you and they will come to you and work with you. And so the unicorns are very, very special beings. While I'm talking, I'm also just pulling out 3 cards for you. I hope that's all right.
Yeah.
And what we have here, that's interesting, is you've got blessings, which is count your blessings and the good in your life will multiply. King of the unicorns, and moving. Now, when I look at this blessing card, it's telling me that you are surrounded by many people and things who care for you, and you need to be aware of the things that aren't working and the people around you that aren't working and bless them. Don't let yourself get angry or annoyed or frustrated, because that slows time down and that holds you back. If instead you bless them and you visualize them receiving what they want and you receiving what you want, then things will change for you and you will stay in the 5th dimension and the time will flow for you. Now, your middle card is the King of the Unicorns, which is the divine masculine energy. And the strap line is, you are blessed with majesty, vision, and power. Now, this says that you have the power to see what is going on. Don't let yourself be clouded by any of the lower, messy things going on around you. Rise above it and get a high perspective on everything in your life. And then the last card is moving. Now that says change is happening. So be prepared to move physically or spiritually. And this suggests that a move is going to take place in your life, and that I have a feeling that this might be something to do with work, or it might be to do with your personal life, but there is going to be a shift that's taking place, and you will be moving your work or your house or something in the near future. This is all being set up. And the cards would indicate to me that if you do it in the right way, you can make it easy for yourself. But if you don't, then you could make it a bit of a challenge.
I don't suppose it says which is the right way, does it?
The right way is to look at the whole situation, decide what you want, and never mind about what anybody else is doing, whether they're trying to block you or hold you back. You bless them, and you hold your vision. Then the unicorns and the angels can work with you to bring your vision about. Let me give you an example. In the Keys to the Universe, one of the sections is about time. And I'm talking about in the third dimension. If you have a business plan and your business part with somebody and your business partner runs off with the money, now you have a choice. In the third dimension, you get very angry, you blame him, and your plan collapses. If you maintain your frequency in the fifth dimension, you bless that person. You bless them with integrity and honesty and all the things that they need. You don't let their action affect you or your business plan. You continue to focus on your vision. And because you are holding your frequency high, the angels make sure that your vision still comes about. And then you're flowing with the universe. And I feel that there's something like this happening in your life right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the whole thing, the whole reading actually feels very right for me, what you're saying.
Well, maybe the unicorns have just come in to tell you this because you needed to hear it.
All right, thank you for that, Diane. Was there anything else you needed to say at all on that?
Well, not really,
No.
just that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely can do it. And the outcome, as long as you remember what I've said and work with the forces rather than blocking them and slowing them down with your energy, the outcome will be much, much better than you have any idea of. You can even be a pioneer in something new. You know,
Well, I'm trying.
Really good.
I am trying with the Spiritual Matters radio show.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Is that what it's about?
Well, maybe. I hope so.
I don't know. I didn't want to probe too personally.
Okay, no, that's
But that's what the cards came up with.
all right, fantastic. Now, I want to move on from readings to writings. I know you've got a couple of books that you mentioned the book you've got coming out, and I know you're also putting together some children's books.
Well, absolutely, yes. The transition years, that's up to 2032, that's coming out this year. And also, I've just had out 2 children's books about the adventures of Tara and her talking kitten. And it's to help children who find life challenging. And this little girl, she's 7, she finds that she can't make friends, she can't relate properly to her parents, she's in trouble. And then she's given a little grey kitten, and the kitten can talk to her, and the kitten becomes her guide and helps her to make friends, to communicate with her parents, to handle difficult situations, and then introduces her to her guardian angel, to the fairies, the elves, the pixies. In the next book coming out in September, introduces her to the unicorns. And so there's a whole series where she meets the different beings. And the aim is to empower children. Yes, to enchant them, but to help them so that they can be who they truly are.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that one, Diana.
Thank you. I feel it's really, really important now. And in September, I'm setting up a children's website to support this, where they can have safe games and learn about how to help themselves.
All right. Now, you're also going to be hosting a couple of workshops at the forthcoming Mind, Body, Spirit Festival.
I'm at Mind, Body, Spirit Festival on Friday, the 27th of May, and I'll be talking about the keys to Hollow Earth, and that is so exciting. It's about the sort of things we've been talking about, but how you can actually connect into the keys to make yourself into an enlightened ascended master in this lifetime. And on the Sunday, I shall be talking about the keys to Sirius, and then you can make yourself into a master of the universe. And there are sounds to each of the keys, and the sounds help to attune you to the wisdom within the key. There is a CD in the book, The Keys to the Universe, which gives you all the sounds for the different keys to the universe. And it is, I have to say, quite awesome and very, very exciting. It really can shift people in a totally new way.
And you're making a couple of other appearances. I think you're going to get the record for the most appearances at a Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. You've got the free guided meditation on the Saturday, the 28th, haven't you, as well?
I've got a free guided meditation on the Saturday. I'm also doing some free stuff on the stage on the other days. There's something practically every day. And I'm hoping to really raise the profile of the Diana Cooper School, because we train people in angels, ascension, transform your life, all sorts of, in 2012 we have, and Atlantis, we have many courses, and we train teachers to go out and spread the information.
So there's more details on the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival at mindbodyspirit.co.uk/London. What are your web addresses for all your websites, Diana?
DianaCooper.com, and there's DianaCooperSchool.com as well.
Okay, and let us know about the children's one when it comes along, and we'll put that out as well. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's really been a pleasure talking to you. Quite fascinating as well, Diana.
Well, thank you, and good luck.
Yes, and to you too. Speak to you again sometime.
Okay, thanks.
You've been listening to an interview from spiritualmatters.org.